What's up, everybody? How's everybody today?
What's
Is everybody
up?
having a great day today?
Fat and happy, man. Fat and happy.
Right?
Yep.
No doubt, man. Has it been a busy week, guys, or what?
Yeah.
Like in a good way, I think. I don't know. Yeah. Corey, launch into your response on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, just same old, man. Those times when especially when you're starting new projects, and you know that, like, a lot of the stuff that we do obviously here is very front loaded, and because there's a lot that goes into it on the first month. So just with new clients and stuff. So yeah, it's picking up. Usually the fall is pretty good. Because people are back into school. The kids are in school, so folks that are looking for help, to ramp the business back up. Fall is kind of the time where they get refocused on business goals, and they start looking for some help. So it's a good time to ramp up any advertising channels that you might have if you're looking for clients. But it's definitely it's been busy. So in a good way.
We're working on the holidays right now, of course. I'm sure everybody's working on the holidays right now, if they haven't already been. Everyone should always be, but thinking about personalization, actually, that's kind of what kind of made me start talking about it this week, is I was looking at some profiles, looking at some buyers on a site, and trying to figure out what to do for Christmas, right? And so I guess I have a question for you guys. What is Google's search personalization?
Well, so this dovetails, I think, really well into what we were talking about last session we ran last week, right? Where I kind of was talking a little bit around or directly at, like, what we do with SEO is really building funnels, right? And those funnels are really set up to be the right kind of content in the right places for the right kind of person. Like, you've got to get all those matched, right? When all those match, then you've got a component of your SEO going on that's also going to work with conversion, right? And bringing new people in. And, Google's results actually match with that really well. The personalization is really about actually who the person is and what they do and how they behave online. And the better we can understand that and then get the things in place that need to be in place, we will be able to benefit from that, right? Bring more, human eyes onto the offers we've got, and clicking through and giving even more juice to good links that we build and content that we put out there. So to me, that's
zooming out and go like backing up just so people kind of can understand personalization. It's always really been there at some level. So, you're looking for something, you find the result. Let's say you find your website after you've done a query, you click on it, and then every time you look for it, it's higher and higher, and you're like, oh, right on, here I am. I'm number one. And then you tell somebody else to look, or you tell a client, no, look, you're number one. And they go to look, and they're like, I don't even see it on the first page. So Google's reserving you the results based on what you've already clicked on. And if you, depending on where you're at, anywhere in the world, and you type in, let's say, something that is considered, not like a national, but a local query, even without a geo modifier, like even if you just add near me, you're going to get, based on your location, the IP address of your device, you're going to get that personalization. And so it's always kind of been there. You just have to look and say, okay, what are the not so obvious things that are happening behind the scenes? And webmasters that are smart are going to know this. Like in personalization, the way that I use it to monetize is, somebody adds something to the cart, they go to checkout, and then there's related products. Folks who bought this are also bought this and this. And by the way, get a 10% discount or whatever. So that's really more of an intentional personalization on our part as webmasters to really look what the user or the customer is actually going in and buying, and then make some suggestions based on that.
Yeah, like one of the things that we do with it is like as far as links go, right? Like being able to look around and understand that some of the location modifiers are really being affected heavily by other websites in your location, right? Phoenix, we're, fairly major metropolitan area. Like, there's all sorts of really good local links that a website can get. And you just got to, shop around a little bit and find out where those are coming from. Those are going to help really serve up a lot of the location modifier personalization that is in place. even if they're not industry specific, they're going to be location specific. And so thinking about the location specific modifiers and where you might want to get, links or potential for a human to be able to click something and get to your offer, right? That's what a link is. Like looking at the location, looking at your industry, but then also looking kind of at the profile, right? What Mike's talking about as far as like the type of person, right? So I mentioned this on the last webinar. I probably have a couple different ones, but like there are going to be people who are interested in like really, smart and savvy home improvements about, getting the most out of the resale value of their home or saving the most on their energy bill or something like that. Right. And in that way, you've got kind of three places you look to get relevance from. It's like kind of the profile or the even not really demographic, but like the way a certain human approaches things, like one of the things that they value. And when you can sort all three of those out, you've got a really nice understanding of what you need to have in place to do well in SERPs. And so I kind of look at those three elements when we're figuring out what to do with, backlinks and content both for the projects and the clients that we work on.
It's interesting because back in 2009, I think it was, and Google started personalizing search. They started talking about search personalization. And what year is it, right? It's 2021. 2 years after they announced that, so 2011 or so, 50% of search results were personalized. That was within two years. Danny Sullivan recently, there was a recent article where Google's talking about how personalization does not affect ranking, does not affect search. And I think that a comment like that is a really big disservice to people with the state of what is actually happening in the SERPs right now. Now, I'm going to try to find that really quickly, but to me, if we've got a situation where they were personalizing 50% of search results with what they were doing back then, with the data they're collecting now, and with the improvements they've made on their actual pages, there's a lot to pay attention to right there. And I think that the profile-based aspect of buying traffic or looking at a user's persona or journey really kind of encompasses like what is happening right there. And I've been trying to share Brave, but Brave won't let me share it. And I was going to show and make a point, but Brave is at the very basic level, and understanding the very basic levels of personalization gets people thinking how they might be missing out on revenue, on traffic from SERP. At the very basic level in Brave, even if you block your location, Brave starts you, if you start with the query and you hit that query, no matter what it is, you're going to be delivered personalized results before you are asked to block their location tracking. They are tracking your location before you are able to block it. They know it before you've hit it, before the request. And it's actually very interesting, and it's very important to understand that in one of the browsers that's supposed to be secure, that's supposed to be this or that, yes, we can hide our IP, we can change our IP. Do users do that? Do you think that the users on your website, Fletch and Corey, are hiding their IP? Unless you're on certain markets, maybe, like there's certain markets where they might be. But I mean, in general, what's your thought on that right there?
I'm not even hiding mine, and I do this stuff for a living.
Yeah.
So
for
probably
the most
not.
part, I don't either. Right. And even like if you go from like these third-party services like I Search From or What Ranks Where or something like that, like that's still coming out of their IPs. Like whatever that profile is built for, that's going to be influential on what the results are. And to like there's not really a great way of even doing it based on stuff we know. So if that's the case, then people are not doing it. They're not doing it even to the level that we know we can. And even that is like, well, we assume that certain things, we have a spoofed IP or whatever it might be. But, you mentioned with Brave, which is the Chromium element, which is the, same kind of browser. It'll gather your information before it asks you if you want to, anonymously search the web or do something like that. So like there's not really a way of getting around this. And even if there were a way, most people are not using it. So we should consider it, because the vast majority of people are being influenced by these personalized results based either on their location or their entire search history, right? If you go into Google and you're logged in, there's going to be a lot of information that Google has about your behavior in what you search for, the types of things you click on, and all that kind of thing. Those are all going to affect what SERP you see when you do a search. And this is individualized now for like nearly anyone. And so if you don't consider who these people are and the types of profiles that are built, you're missing a ton of traffic. Even if you see yourself ranking when you do a search at number 2 or 3 or whatever it might be, there might be a vast majority of people who are not getting that same result. And it's because you have not built things that cater to their behavior, their predilections, what they do online, how they behave, the types of things they're clicking on. Like these are things that very much come into play when you're looking at the amount of traffic and kind of the buyer intent even.
So what kind of things would you do to close that gap? So let's say you've got a query that gets, let's say, 8,000 searches a month. You're number one for that, or top 3 at least. What are some of the things to be looking out for, just in practical ways, that could make people, or that could add to that personalization?
It's a really good question. So like one of the things that I do, like speaking personally, as far as my day in and day out of what I do, is I try to use my brain, and I think about, like, if there's somebody, like we talked about some of the joint stuff, right? That you brought up when you were talking about pay-per-click the other day, Corey. There are different sorts of there are different places where people might be currently that are doing a search. And so some of them may be looking for optimal health or athletic performance. Some are looking for, they're in a place of pain, right? And they're trying to get out of pain. Some of them are maybe looking for a way to, they're more like diet. They're coming from this place of like what I should ingest to get optimal levels in my blood and all that kind of thing. So if you're only coming from it, if you're only coming at that problem or that situation from a place where you're looking at the pain element, right? You're going to miss out on all the people who have a profile built. They're looking for optimal athletic performance, right? Those people are not necessarily going to see the pain thing. Right?
Exactly. So you're tackling that though with like part of your content strategy, right? Like that's
ultimately content and links. I almost use synonymously. Like it's really kind of about the journey somebody would take from where they are to get them to a place where they can make a decision and justify it based on what they've seen and the journey they've taken online doing the research they're doing. So all that is, it's great job security for an SEO. Like if you do this kind of thing to be able to, use your mind in such a way where you can get into these different places where people live and why they go search for, solar panels in Phoenix or glucosamine chondroitin or whatever it might be. That search doesn't mean the same thing to everybody else. Like there's going to be a bunch of different kind of profiles, right? And they're individualized, but there's kind of groupings, and being able to navigate your mind to get into those places where those people are living, why they did that search, right? The why behind why someone did this search is really big. And that's kind of what I'm kind of trying to talk about with this sort of thing. So
what I want to look at right now is I want to look at what we're seeing here in the network, right? What Chrome is showing me right now when I'm filling out a form on Craig's website, right? So we can absolutely just take a look and watch what Google is pulling in and what they're using for their tools, what they're sending to their developer APIs, what they're sending to the Crux report, the Chrome User Experience report. And in the activity of an account that's logged in or an account that's not logged in, let's see, we'll filter, that should be today, yeah. So we come in, I visited NFG just before this. It might take a little bit of time, but let me do the filter again. When we come in here, what we will see is it will give us the products that we've used. It will give us, it's actually really interesting. It will give us what we've done on those sites, right? Let me get back to the top of this level. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so we can come into the Craig Campbell website. We can look at this activity and we can see what they're saying. And we can look at them talking about shared devices or multiple accounts and actually mashing all of that together into one activity list, right? So if they're able to do that and they're able to look at that, we really have to start understanding that when we hear people talk about content creation and grouping and this and that, and there's arguments that intent is not a ranking thing and this and everything, but the numbers that I see of 500, 1,000% increases do not lie when you tailor your content towards a demographic or a profile or a persona, right? There is absolutely more usage. And if you haven't seen it in your campaigns yet, and we'll go over this in North Carolina at the end of the month, but these aspects, the traffic coming to your website, the traffic that's no longer coming to your website, will cause your rankings to go up and they will cause your rankings to go down. And now we can't say if that's a direct correlation and a factor directly there, or if there are emergent factors that make things rank. But the profile and the personalized results that are delivered affect everything about your page when it comes to search traffic, paid traffic, and everything. So,
well, and one of the big elements, Mike, is
yeah.
like this is kind of the crux, not the Chromium user experience, but like this is where we really have a lot of crossover and influence on conversion.
Yeah.
Right. These are going to be the things that you want to pay attention to if you want to get more actual buyers out of your SEO, right? Because they've gone on a journey and they've gotten to a place where they can make a decision. They feel informed. They already want the thing. They can justify it based on the information you've given them. And so this is really a way to set yourself apart from other SEOs that might be just going after, a ranking when you can really tailor a campaign to be able to not just improve the SERP, right? And what result you're going to say you rank for, which is going to be very different, right? Like even reporting the ranking results anymore is it doesn't tell the full picture, right?
Yeah.
It's going to translate better to getting actual like more throughput, right? More people that are actually clicking on, buying, calling, doing whatever on your website and your your essential offer page. So doing this not only improves, what we strictly call SEO, but it's going to improve and increase the number of people who actually click and buy from the projects and the campaigns you're working on.
No, absolutely. It's actually a pretty amazing thing, to be honest, to be able to look at that. And I wanted to point out, you brought up conversion. Moments are a really big thing. Moments are something that I definitely want to get into conversations with you when we see each other at the end of the month, because Angel Cruz, I don't know, maybe 2015, 16, I'm not sure when he started talking about micro conversions and stuff when Google launched. When did they launch the micro conversion stuff, the page?
That was quite a while ago. I mean,
yeah, it was. Think
for...
with Google. That's it. I don't remember when it was actually launched, but it is something that we can't deny right now. if you look in your activity and you just go into the filters and you want to start taking a look at what they can do, go in and start looking at the filters that they have, and see what kind of filters you can put on your search, right? So when you go in and you do your search, where is my filters? They like changing my profile on me. It's kind of funny.
Well, and just to give people like like I say, I do this every day, but like month to month with clients that we're doing this for right now currently, they're getting 100% more than 100% more traffic on site and ranking for like maybe 150, 200% more keywords. So like these are things that you can do in, you know, with what you know that you can implement in the campaign you're working on that absolutely have a huge effect on how many keywords somebody's ranking for and the amount of traffic that is coming to the website. This is not just esoteric and like, oh, it sounds great and it looks like the patent, but like I'm doing this right now and we're growing traffic by 100% per month on
Oh yeah,
these
oh
things.
definitely.
So this is a very huge thing you can do and have as almost the core of your offer. It's really kind of the core.
So Fletch, when you're setting up, so I guess so you're talking about micro conversions that you're implementing those.
Well, so it's not necessarily the term I'd use, but like this starts with understanding the market and then going into keyword research. And like I've done a bunch of training, I provided training, I bought a bunch of training, I spent a ton of money trying to learn this. Like one of the things I think that really has not been tackled well is doing that front end research well, right? The market research and then the keyword research, search phrase research. Like if you get those two things right, that really sets the stage and lays out a great plan for what you're going to be doing with the, you know, content marketing or SEO or whatever you want to call it as you move forward. Like if you get those two things right, it opens the door for a ton of stuff. And so those campaigns I was specifically talking about, those were not new offsite links coming in. That was just content plan and new content on the site that was interlinked properly, that created new constellations, so to speak. That's kind of the term I use. And
I like it.
Like you made a good
things that are affordable. Yeah.
When you mention backlinks, it's a good point to jump into, because once you understand personalization and once you understand a profile and what that is, and you look through what Google's written about how they profile certain things, and we can look at their data, we can listen to what they say, and we know that they build a profile for a website, right? They build a profile that even includes the internal site search of that website. There's patents on this. They talk about looking at the profile of the user that hits a website, what that user searches for, and then profiling that. And they even talk about how they may come back and they might collect more data on that and how they may build a baseline, right? And these are not new. This is not a new patent. This is a 6-year-old patent, maybe.
I think. And like to that point, like when Leo was on, what, a month ago or 2 months ago now, like he was talking about this and the way he built out the site, the protein bars, right? He was talking specifically about like for cyclists or for bodybuilders, same product, but his internal site search would really have these constellations in place that were for cyclists or for bodybuilders or for weight loss.
For years now, we have been utilizing Google. For years now, we have been utilizing Google Analytics and various internal things with a website to directly affect our ranking. And I know that we haven't talked a lot about that in public, and we're starting to talk about it now because, like I said, I don't know if you guys were around, but Rand jumped off and went over to inbound marketing at one point when SEO Moz became Moz, and he left SEO and he went to inbound marketing, and which he was premature. It's not a bad idea, but it didn't work for him and it kind of failed. The tech wasn't there yet. Right now, we're in a place where that kind of mindset of the profile, the persona, the HubSpot thing is ripe right now for people that understand technology and content. And it's interesting because people are starting to talk about how backlinks aren't important, but I think what they have to understand is that old page rank or initial page rank that was written to estimate a user experience and how a user surfs the web and all of that, pre-2019 page rank is what I'm going to call it right now for some reason. But pre-2019 page rank is dead, right? Page rank is alive and well. Backlinks don't matter until they absolutely matter. I would challenge you to come into a query that we've ranked in 4 weeks in a top 2 CPC market and try to rank without backlinks. Okay, and it's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. You're not going to rank without backlinks.
Agreed. 100%. 100%.
The people that say, like the case studies that say there's no backlinks, the case studies that say content velocity only, content velocity. Cool. Content velocity is amazing. And it's getting big right now. Brad and I have been teaching this and talking this for like 6 years now, right? This is content plus leaking, the way we've talked about it, and why it's always worked because of the way they match shit up.
And even that, Mike, is that's a great way to price your service.
It is. It's
figure out how much content you need and what links you need and what they're gonna, cost to acquire and get in place. Like this is really a solid foundation to work from if you're looking at doing, agency stuff or providing a service.
Yeah, I mean, deliverables. You got deliverables, and that's that's a definitely you can't beat that.
No, this is so Flavia says, hi, how to push old backlinks from sites with big page rank, like guest posts from newspaper sites. I wouldn't waste my time. 100%, I wouldn't waste my time unless there's a reason to, and you're looking at it, and this is a guest post that's actually in the modular navigation, that's actually actively crawled.
That's really big, the modular navigation. Yeah. One of the problems with a lot of guest post services is the thing doesn't get crawled well, right? It doesn't have the relevance coming into it that supports it as an important piece of content for a certain concept. And that's one of the things that we need to be able to move away from. And it's a service, it works, but it doesn't push the way that it maybe used to, and it doesn't push the way that it can. Mm-hmm. If you get things that are crawling really well, like crawl is a huge component of what I look at, right? It's like what pages are linking to and supporting this concept that's going to push along that page rank and that influence to the target pages I want to get people on and ranking better. And, when you don't control the site and you don't really know the vendor and they're not really doing things, they're just, posting a piece of content, giving you a link, and it's got great metrics. Well, yeah, but if it's not getting crawled, it's not really going to work for you.
Flavia just knocked it out of the park a little bit. I wasn't going to say anything, but the profile, the persona, the enhancement of a backlink, it needs to be looked at from more than just a backlink. It needs to be looked at from the whole profile. And it's something that we're going to dig into and we're going to look at when we get into, that stuff. I think day 2 is it's going to be over in North Carolina is when we're going to go into it deeply. Because it's really important. Like, it's going to be very important for them to understand the profile, the persona, and the journey and the funnel on day 1. And I was talking to Leo for like an hour and a half the other day. We were talking about how to do it, and I'm like looking at Fletch and Leo. I'm like, man, I don't know how to get through more than that shit on day 1, dude. And I'm trying to wrap my head around it, dude.
Well, and
it really is, man.
It's kind of simple when you get there, but like for me, I know it was kind of a process to begin looking at this type of thing differently, right? From a different standpoint. And once you're there, it's like, it's all real clear. But, getting somebody else, especially if they know about SEO, right? They've done it for a while, but getting them moved over from like, it's just about backlinks from high metric sites over to like more of the SEO funnel kind of thing.
Last week we had a good conversation. Fletch, we had a really good kind. I think that when people see one of the things I think the problems are that people have right now when they go out and buy links or build links, I tell people that come to me, and I've got people that come in and we just do their shit, through Skype, and they rank their shit through Skype with us. And, that's all, I get a freaking Excel sheet once a month from them, and they come back and then they hit PayPal or whatever. Most people, I don't want them to send me anchors. Most people, I don't want them to send me anything other than a target, because right now, most people don't understand what relevance is. they're stuck on a topic. And,
and to the point, Mike, like of looking at, and that was one of the big things, right? Kind of back in the OMG days, like if you get a link from Huffington Post, oh, that you're going to crush it. Send some links to that, or to any of these other places.
And it worked for the most part. Then
it did,
right?
Right.
Because other people weren't
if it had
doing
traffic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So but then most of these places like Google caught on to, and most of that stuff is no follow anyways, which I would say, Flavia, I mean, if it's a no follow link, which you'd have the same juice, quote unquote, as you would from like putting a link on Twitter or on Facebook or anywhere else where you can get free high domain authority, whatever high page rank kind of links. But that's not really the point anymore. Like I would much rather have, instead of a link from any of those big news sites, only for bragging rights, like it's cool to show clients or whatever, I'd much rather have a link from a site that's got 15 referring domains that is hyper niched way down into what they're doing. It's been around for a while. It doesn't have the kind of the domain authority, but it's got a really high trust flow in a particular industry. 15 referring domains, all related, all from real businesses. You get a link from a site like that. Those are the kind of links that really, really push. And you don't need a whole lot of them. And I know that, there's ways of going about getting those that, you can find those, you can reach out, you can do whatever. There's, you can get some edits. But those are, I'd much rather do that than like a full on, high domain authority. I got a blog post. Some of those I will say are good, and I've seen them push if they're do follow.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of shit that there's no hard and fast right now, in my opinion, man. There's an understanding, and we have to remember that it's optimization. It's not content marketing. It's not. I mean, would you set up a freaking PPC campaign and never look at it again, Corey?
No.
Right.
I keep my finger on the pulse of this stuff all the time.
On your freaking website and think it's going to be good forever. I mean, the whole myth of evergreen content is bullshit, dude. The topic might be evergreen, but the page isn't. The market isn't evergreen. The market is completely dynamic, and it changes freaking daily, right?
Well, and then how dynamic the links coming in are, right? These different sites, they do different things to promote getting more traffic to their site and their pages. All that all changes, right? And those are things that are going to be like highly relevant and influential on how much those links push, right? How many people are actually looking at the page and maybe clicking on that link that you've got there? Like those make a difference. Like they make a very large difference. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I've kind of doubled down on focusing on this stuff on site, because if we can get something ranking well locally in, a couple different personalization campaigns in a certain area, and like that's going to rank for most every person in a certain location, and there's a better than average probability that somebody's going to click on a certain link that takes them to a page that describes more about what they're looking at or what they're trying to fix or whatever it might be. And so, like, one of the things that we do in that regard is we really try to get the pages that have links to our target page ranked for something, right? We want traffic on that stuff. Because if you look, this is one of the ways you can know it's true. Okay, you get a link, or you get a link from a page that has traffic, right? Well, I want a link from a page that has traffic. Like it's kind of almost obvious. It's like, I would rather have that. Okay, well then how do you facilitate getting traffic to that page, right? And if you can control the factors and get it ranked organically, you're going to have traffic on that web page, right? It's ranking organically. You're going to a higher chance of click-through, which is good for SEO, but that also means traffic to your website, right? And so we're looking at traffic and people who are actually in a place where they can make a decision and buy something from your client or whatever you're doing, right?
That was interesting. I want to talk about blog comments over guest posts right now, because I can make an argument for both sides of that, right? And so what are your thoughts on that comment? Blog comments over guest posts.
I don't use blog comments, so I wouldn't. I don't have. That's my comment. No comment.
Well, they tend to be a lot cheaper, right?
Well, let's change this to a forum post or I
think it
post.
would probably, for me, depend on the profile of the person who was making the blog comment. Right? If you're an influencer and you've got a bunch of following and you're making some comments on YouTube videos or whatever it might be, right? That link you post or that comment you make is going to get a lot more eyes on it just because you're following, right? To me, this is like, I don't look strictly at the SEO implications. Like I really try to understand where the people are and how they're using the internet. And like people who are kind of like more in the influencer side of things, a lot of people just kind of do what they do, right? They see where they post, what they comment on. But again, then guest posts, you might have some more influence. And I'm kind of like you a little bit, Mike. Just insofar as like I can make an argument both ways there. I've done blog comments, I've done guest posts. I think it really, like, this is something that's not controlled for very well in the tests that I've seen, which is like how much competition is there, right? And what you have to pay to get the result, right? It's not that these neither one work, they both work. But when you factor in all this other stuff, it's like, well, how do you get from A to B? Like, how do you get from where you are to where you want to be? And that, to me, is really where you've got to be able to make decisions on where you're allocating your resources and strategically approaching your campaign.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I was actually trying to find something and I couldn't. There on the blog comment note, I wanted to make a point. Link building is link building and power, and there's a bunch of different metrics that go with it. I have been a part of situations where there's multiple people trying to take over a certain topic in search. I think it was like 2014. The social data hub, if everyone remembers what that was, I don't know if they do. It's a good conversation to have when we're talking about personalized search and profiles. They made partnerships with websites back in the day so that they could actually, I don't even know if this page is contained anywhere. I'm sure that they don't even have I'm sure we could find it in archive, but I'm not going to bother. And we were able to use one domain, use a data hub website, have the comments commenting on the post, and absolutely rank every profile of site owner that commented on that post for that query on page one back in like 2013 or 14. Okay. Now the data hub's gone. They don't need that anymore. They don't need that data. That was data collection. That was them getting to the state they are now, where they have their hands everywhere and they're into everything. But the point is they've been building these profiles, they've been personalizing search, and they've been tracking what people like for a long time. So when you go out and you grab some backlinks somewhere, and you say, well, these aren't relevant, you might not be correct, right? And I think that looking at your SEO going forward from a mindset of what is relevant to this intent on this piece of content in my profile, how does it tie into the overall profile, and how does it tie into what links to this page, you might be able to open your eyes up to more opportunity and find places and link opportunities that are a little bit easier and a little bit more cost efficient for you, right?
Well, so Mike, maybe talk a little bit about like how would Google understand intent, right? That's a good question. It's one that a lot of people are like, well, it makes sense because, insulation and energy efficiency, or, home electric bill, those are all kind of in the same niche, but like intent's a little bit different. Like you can bring things in from pieces of content that you wouldn't readily identify with Ahrefs or SEMrush or whatever keyword research tool you're using. You almost have to start with intent and then be able to work from that.
Oh, you do. I agree 100%. You have to start.
Get over to a thing, and then it's like, well, this makes a lot of sense. This is something I would click on. There's probably other people like me that would click on those links and navigate further into the SEO funnel, so to speak. Like thinking about it from that standpoint or philosophy or whatever it might be, it opens up way more opportunities for you to get, relevant.
Let's talk about what intent is for a second then, because I'm going to make a statement. Does Google even need to know about intent to actually use it to make it better to make our sites better and our content better? I don't know that they actually need to understand it. However, I do believe their ultimate goal is to understand empathy, which is intent in my head, right? Their goal is to understand and predict what a person needs at that time. And if we look at intent from empathy and understanding what people are trying to do or what's trying to be accomplished, when Italy it was Italy or Spain was locked down and they were singing out of their apartments, trying to come together and stay positive during lockdown when people are dying from COVID. It was a huge story that everyone was really like, they felt good about, they loved, they wanted more of it. And then we had a group of celebrities that decided to go do it on Twitter from their freaking mansions. And it didn't look very good when they did it. It wasn't received the same way by people who saw that, even though they did the same thing and they had the same intent, but the profile of the people they were trying to reach, it was absolutely the wrong intent and they rejected it. They didn't like it. And so if you build content instead of for a user and you build it for a topic, there are people, you can't help but it will happen. If you don't understand the user you want to sell to, you will write content that someone will bounce away from and they won't like it because you'll either offend them or it won't hit a moment with them or it won't touch their pain. So whether Google understands intent or not doesn't matter. If you want to convert shit and you want this profile-based SEO to work for you, you want all of the factors that Google likes to look at that we can't count, that we don't know, then you need to be paying attention to what your users need and build your content that way.
100%. Well, one of the things that you can do is you can train intent by certain actions that people take on your website, and you can set that up when you are using your like in analytics. Like they've made it way too easy now. Like in most sites, I don't even install any other like analytic software on there right now, like even including Tag Manager, because you can set all the stuff up in analytics where you can have people actually, you can say, okay, this is what I'm going to count as a conversion. This is what I'm going to count as,
I've seen your profiles, bro. I see what your stats look like, bro.
Yeah,
they're solid, dude.
Like you can get pretty close to a 0 bounce rate on your stuff. Yeah. And, just by having people click through, let's say an image loads, there you go. There's a conversion point. They scroll, there's another conversion. And those micro conversions, I think, contribute to the overall intent that you are informing Google what the people that are visiting your site, what their intent is by all these conversions that happen on your site. So whether or not to your point, like maybe somebody finds a piece of content on one of my websites where I've got all these micro conversions, they hate it and they bounce. Well, they've already converted like 3 times on that one page because an image fired, maybe they clicked somewhere, maybe they scrolled. So you can train, I think, even on the micro level on your individual website, you can train Google's to understand the intent that you have for people who visit your website.
You absolutely can. They absolutely want to know if user A likes content B and if user C likes content B, because then they can start delivering the right content to personalization. And we're going to wrap back around to how Google builds universal search results. Google builds universal search results based on how much usage a piece of content gets. If there's a video in Google video search, the organic search, that video has to bid like PPC for a position on that page. They are bidding content into that page. If they're bidding their own content into that page, if they're personalizing search, if they change the markup about a month and a half ago to certain stuff outside of logged in accounts and inside of logged in accounts, and they start tweaking this, and we know they're building things based on kind of their ad platform, right? I mean, if you look at this, Google wants to recommend the best thing to the best user, whether that's their paid content or free content, because they want the market share. And if they want the market share, they need the best results because they want to make money. And so if they're bidding all this in and they're trying to customize the best results, they have to look at that intent. They have to see how it converts. So if you're showing Google that a certain type of user is converting on your website all the time, maybe your shit's gonna rank. I don't know. I don't know. It's but yeah, no, really though, it's really important to understand, I think, because most people don't right now. I think people are paying attention to the wrong things, kind of.
Well, like one of the things in line with this is like understanding this is kind of one thing, or talking about it and kind of fleshing out the topic and the understanding, but like, then what do you do with that? Right. And like one of the questions that I continue to ask, right, in the the company I work in right now, and with the people I talk to, is like, why does this page exist? Why does this link exist? Like why are we doing this? Right. It's like, oh, well, it's going to help rank, or it the service page is like kind of generic, and like, oh yeah, we offer HVAC service or whatever. But like the why behind the why is really important. It's like, this is designed not just to rank, but to help somebody get to a place where they can make a decision about moving forward with booking a call, or a service appointment, or whatever it might be. And when you can start to ask those different questions, you can understand that there are different things you're going to put your resources into, as far as getting links and getting content created, that actually moves a human forward in transacting, right? Even beyond micro, like I'm talking full conversion, right? They're going to buy something from the thing, right? The micro conversions are maybe important with SEO and things like that, but we want full conversion, right?
Well, of course. Yeah, always. That's always the
The
goal.
question of like, why does this content exist? It is so different and so much easier when you can ask those questions and have it really framed up in the instructions that content writers have to make a piece of content. It's like, this is not just about HVAC service. This is about helping somebody make a decision about getting their HVAC serviced. Like, that just small difference makes a ton of difference, because those micro conversions come packaged in it. Somebody's going to start reading more. They're going to click more. They want to watch the video. They want to maybe pull the image up and zoom in on it differently.
Crucial.
Those micro conversions come pre-packaged in, asking that different level of question about why this piece of content is here. And it doesn't take that much more work. It takes the same amount.
I think that's worth repeating, Fletch. I think what you said was super important. And, you can go pull the keyword list and then send it off to a content writer and tell them this is what you're writing about. But if you have the spin, not even that you should, copyright it to the point of buying something from this website, but to the point to getting them to ask that question. Why would I need something like that? What are some things that would, and however you phrase that, I think that was crucial to content.
I'm glad it was recorded. I don't know if I could repeat it, but really, it is what I do, right? And just being able to ask that other level of question that starts to pull in conversion. There's all sorts of cool SEO influences that come with asking that a little differently, that make a huge difference. It doesn't cost more. It takes a little bit more of my time, but I'm positioning myself now differently, even for the value that I bring to the table when I work on projects, in that, like a service page for HVAC, right? There's thousands, tens of thousands of those out there. One is just about HVAC, and it's got the right, keywords, sprinkled in it, and it checks all the boxes, but it didn't start from a place of helping somebody who finds this page say, yes, I really do want to have somebody come out and have a look at my HVAC system and see if it's at the proper pressures and I don't have constrictions in the system or leakage or like whatever it might be. It's the same article, costs the same amount of money. You're going to optimize it with the same amount of work, but that different question is really instrumental in having more time on site, time on page, click-through rate, those like all that comes pre-packaged if you ask the right question. This is really about asking the right question.
Dude, and yes, I mean, it's kind of like, I was having a hard time getting a couple people started in this path, and Leo like dropped a tool that made it easier for them. And question, intent, and question. Questions are beautiful research tools. Questions can be the only thing you need to do in a lot of cases. The beauty of what's happening with SEO right now and context marketing. And we're going to be going into like real cloaking this year as part of the process for what we're doing, because cloaking is personalization and personalization is context, right? When you're able to deliver a user what they want right away, and that's what it is. Permission-based marketing, implicit permission and explicit permission are different. First-party and third-party metrics are different, but profile-based SEO and privacy is huge right now in the news, and it has to be. It's because of how powerful it is, and because by the year 2022, I believe it is, we're going to have 8.3 billion AI assistants that are helping people search the web and helping have content delivered. And SEO and optimization of content and marketing, it's evolved and it continues. SEO is never going to die, and this whole SEO is going to die marketing thing is silly. But we have to understand as SEOs how it directly impacts our little place. And if we don't understand what's happening with devices, what's happening with the users and what those users want, then we are leaving money and traffic on the table that is putting a gap open for anyone to come and compete with, because of the fact that when you go write your content based on a topic and you leave this at initial ranking in phase 1, you have left a gap for people that understand it. And we will come in and we will take
for the agency I work for. We are going to come and take your client.
Yeah.
If you don't figure this out. I'd like you to figure it out, because there's tons of room for everyone. But like, if you're not doing this, understand that some people are, and you're gonna wind up losing your client to somebody. I say somebody like me, right? Like Mike, like Corey, like Brad, right? If you understand this, you keep that.
I don't know. I'm starting to get afraid that I might lose some clients to you, Fletch.
Dude, we sent you one lead yesterday and you closed it in like 10 minutes, dude.
Oh,
dude, I was laughing so hard. I'm talking to Brad.
Like, here's one of the cool things that like Corey knows a ton about. It's like closing a client, keeping a client, different thing, right? It's like you can get them closed and you can have all the stuff built up in the right way. But if you haven't considered some of these other things, it still leaves the door open for somebody else to maybe get a little idea planted in that business owner's head. And one of the things with it, and I've sold and I've done that.
Well, besides taking a client, maybe you're taking that number one spot that I had, and that's kind of the same thing, right? Is that
but it's like if you can provide a service that really doesn't have gaps in it, well then, like, you're not going to lose the client, because there's no place for somebody to get in there and plant a seed in their head. Like, yeah, you rank number one according to this, metric that somebody's sending you, but like, how much more money have you made? Right? How many people are actually clicking on those results and buying from you? And if you haven't talked about that and addressed that with your strategy as a business person and your sales system, that's an open door, right? You want to close these gaps off in a certain way that other people can't niggle in and implant that idea.
Let me ask you this, Fletch. How are you like really fleshing that out? Like, let's say you've got a piece of content. Are you like, let's say you've got a new one of your constellations built out. Are you like just linking to all of the pieces in that? So when somebody's reading, they're like, this is a related piece, and then here's a related piece. Like, what does that look like on a website?
For the most part, yeah. Take the cluster idea, but the constellation idea is like, we've got all these stars, right? All these pages on the internet. Like the web, in a way, is the sky with all these stars.
Correct.
And if you look at them, and it's like you can kind of draw a picture and connect the dots, right? That makes a picture, and that's one of the ways of looking. It's not perfect, but it's a good way of looking at what ranks, right? Because these concepts are connected. Some of them are brighter, right? They have more metrics and all that kind of thing. And so we want to kind of draw that picture. And then so once I built that, right, got those pieces of content in place, got them juiced up enough, it's like, all right, that's good. Then I kind of just, click that off, and then I work on the next piece, right? It's a different topic, different cluster. It might overlap a considerable amount with the existing cluster and all that kind of thing.
When you understand this, you can look at like Corey and I discovered an opportunity, I think it was yesterday, in a restricted market that's trending right now and projected to trend into the next month. We have products and we have the technology behind it so that we can go optimize, for these new intents, these new topics, or these new queries that we need to optimize for, with the same products that we have, and we can build it dynamically. We don't need the content to reflect the product, right? You don't need your content to reflect what you're selling or your affiliate marketing page. It doesn't have to be static like what you're talking about. What you're with the satellite, with the constellation stuff, the constellations move, right? Like they're moving targets. They change position and angle in the sky and crap like this, depending on who's looking at it from where they are in the freaking on the world, right? Mm-hmm. And so if we have the constellation and we have these different ways to look at it, and we look at a funnel like, here's an intent group, and now this person's coming in and buying that product, and here's a completely different profile that's coming in on almost the same query, and it looks like cannibalization, but if I really fix that, I might be shooting myself in the foot, and they're buying that product. When you start throwing in what we're talking about with the profile-based SEO, profile-based marketing, and you look at the technology available and what they're using, Google, you can automate this stuff. You can build your websites automatically. You can build multiple websites automatically. I'm talking not like spammy I'm talking on your client side. You can do this automatically and you can make it work very well. It's enterprise, it's edge, SEO, it's stuff people do. And you can also let it do your discovery, right? And it can be simplified and systemized and managed with technology to the point where you can have an idea and you can do what Fletch is going to teach and what Leo's going to show at in Greensboro in like a couple weeks. And you actually take your SEO knowledge and use the automation, and you can almost press buttons, right? You can press buttons more in different areas of what you're doing in your funnel, but you can press buttons all the way up.
You gonna teach that, Fletch?
What's up, buddy?
You gonna teach that?
Maybe
button pressing. Yeah. He's teaching the keystone, baby. The profile is, and the persona is like 100%
what
everything.
Mike speaks about. Like if you've got one website, you can do this to one website. But like I'm working on 120 plus clients and 1,300 network sites, and this is what I do, right? And it, the results that have been implemented are getting 100% traffic gains in a month with no external links or new stuff done to it, right? This like really works. Like the reason I say that is like wherever you might be, right? If you're just starting out, you've got a couple clients or whatever, like you can just do this with, and I actually recommend that. Like don't go buy a bunch of really high-end software. Like just understand what you're doing as far as, intent and these constellations and how you're, going to be overlap. You're building the web. That's what we do as SEO.
No, it's exactly right, dude. Great way to put it.
That's what we're doing. So when you can understand how the web works and in ways that you can help people navigate the web, like you go to Google's SERP, after you type in your query, you're clicking a link. We're doing the same thing Google is doing by building links that link to appropriate content that helps people find the next step in their journey to make a decision about what they have a problem with or a question about or whatever it might be, right?
If Google can deliver their search results based on a profile and customize it for people, you can do that too. And I will just say this, 2.5 years ago, we started maybe. And for 18 months, we did mass page in a market, and we generated $1.2 billion with mass page. So I can sit here and really attest to why and how this stuff works. Anyone talking about intent is not a thing, intent is not a factor, I don't think they really understand what the web is doing right now. And we have it all automated, and there's, I want to make a comment on automation. Automation has to be used for a reason, right? And we're opening all that automation up this year to people that are coming to this event, and we're going to be doing this. But the thing is, you can't automate until you have what we're talking about right here, with what Fletch is going to teach and what Leo is going to show. There is always a starting point and a need for a human. And my mass page works very differently than other people's mass page. My mass page, yes, I funnel traffic that I get and I test offers and I use it to enhance other parts of my SEO and to rank with. But I also use it to discover opportunity and to figure out what I need to do up higher in my conversion process and in my top tier websites. So I love PBNs. I love mini nets. I think they're extremely important to have. And the nice thing is once you get that keystone, once you understand the profile, once you understand personalization and what Fletch is really talking about with that constellation, then you completely understand how to utilize that on multiple layers that will continue to net money sitting there and doing nothing. I mean, there's definitely multiple phases of optimization. And without understanding who your user is, how do you know how to go back in and optimize your page? What content velocity actually should you use? And how should you update your content, like everyone likes to say, if you don't understand your user, right? I think that's huge, because people are talking about content velocity right now all over the place. I don't pay attention to what they're saying, but I see it popping up in feeds everywhere. It's going to get certain people in trouble if they don't do it right, in my opinion. I think that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot if they don't understand like why you should be publishing and what you should be changing when you publish. You know, when you publish, you should be changing other things too if you want to do it optimally, right? And there's a schedule for that, and it's going to be a fun freaking year, dude. There's like it's really going to be a fun get together. There's some freaking crazy people there, man. I'm excited.
Like in a way, like this year, even kind of developing what I'm working on more and getting to a place where like it can get implemented. Like in a way, this is the easiest SEO I've done.
It is.
It's like, if you understand it from, you know, I say this perspective, my perspective, whatever, but like close to this, and you think about it, like it's much easier than other things I've done. It's actually more affordable too.
It's right? Way more affordable, dude.
It gets as good, if not better, than results of some other things that I've done that still work. But you know, I like
it's inefficient.
It's inefficient, right? And so there's, you know, I'll try to share what I can with folks and just, you know, help them see what I see, right? And it's
going to be fun, man. I'm really excited. I really am excited because
it takes coming at it with an open mind, because you're going to have all the pieces, but if you're kind of stuck in looking at things from where you are, it might be very difficult to see. But if you can kind of open yourself up a little bit and move around, you're going to see what you've been doing and why it worked differently. And you can still incorporate everything you know from a different perspective. Like I still use links. I still use the on-site stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But standing in a different place, you see it differently. And so it's like, well, this is a better place to stand to get a better picture of how to navigate that route and get to the top of the peak. Right. So, yeah, like it's not like what you've been doing is wrong. It's just you need to look at it from a different perspective to understand why it was right and how to use it, because all that stuff that you probably already know is extremely useful. I probably do a lot of it myself. I reckon that, you know, Mike and Corey both do as well. But when you can be in a different place and see it differently, you can know how to use it differently as well. And it's just it's a very efficient method or approach or philosophy to implementing what we already know, and from a different standpoint, to get the results that that aren't as, they're not 100% reliable if you're standing like in that kind of link based kind of SEO approach, right? You're going to rank 80% of your clients, but those 20% are going to be head scratchers. And it's like, why?
Well, and then you also are vulnerable to, I think to more
coming in.
More updates, that Google might roll out.
Oh, you absolutely are. 100%, Corey. Good point.
It really is going to be that content strategy, the architecture of the website, a hierarchy, just kind of how you fit into the overall, just environment and corpus of a particular query. Like that is really, and those will soon become like the auto suggested website. Before you've even clicked on it, you get this suggested results, and most devices are doing that anyways, even off Google.
When we go through some of the assistant stuff, I think it will open people's eyes to the fact of like, whoa, they really are just, it's like right in front of me how they're training all this shit. Like, that's what this transformer is doing. Like, oh, that's why they're saying exact match is dead and freaking you should think of it like broad match and this shit, But I wish we had more time, dude, because I really want to talk about what you're doing, because the impact on ranking is actually phenomenal to me right now. What some of this stuff can do with like the kind of paid stuff that you're doing as well. To be honest, man, it's a trip to watch, and once you understand that too, your link building becomes a freaking different beast as well. So it's crazy, man. It's cool. The IRL money glitch made me think of Diablo 2 and dupe items and shit. So yeah, like with the network, duping your items, duping your shit for your inventory, baby. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun. I want to grab a couple of these questions for people before we go, because we've been kind of just going back and forth today. So I'm going to say this. The blog comments haven't made, nothing is happening. Blog comments, I don't mean it from a link standpoint. I do, but I mean it more from the profile of the site that you're on, what's happening around the blog comment. I'm not saying go build blog comments instead of guest posts. I'm saying maybe I would prefer one blog comment over a certain guest post from somewhere, right? That was the guest post question. Where did Jordan's go? There we go. So that's actually like the profile and the persona. Yeah, that's something. I think there's someone that's going to be there. I don't know if they're going to be talking about it, but that's a lot of what they're doing right now is the profile and the persona and the device.
Well, yeah, like to Jordan's point, like these suggest queries are different depending on who you are and what your profile is. Like they're going to show different. Like for everybody else out there that may not, think about this or notice this, like depending on your profile, you're going to get different suggestions. Like I'm kind of a big DIY thing, like that. My search profile is really loaded up with that. A lot of my auto suggest queries, as well as the Insta answer, like, here's a question other people answer or ask. Those are really based on DIY. And if I use my wife's phone, it's very much about the services, like where can I get my whatever fixed or, that kind of thing. Like these things are very much personalized, even within the same household, right? We still run through the same router, all that kind of thing, but she's got a different profile and they show up differently. And so as you can start to sort that out and parse that out, you can understand like a much bigger content plan, which means bigger budget, more money to your client, better click through, like all that kind of thing, if you consider more of these things. So I'm glad that came up. Yeah.
No, it's very interesting. Really, I think that when we start looking at it like a profile or whatever you want to call it, everything becomes auto suggest.
Yeah.
Because it's personalization.
Well, like you talked about, Mike, you call it a convenience engine or like a
recommendation.
Recommendation. Yeah. Right. So what's going to be recommended? Well, you need to know the person to recommend the right stuff.
They're curating content and they're delivering it in a personalized format is what they're doing. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, the director of Google now, you can read books he's written that talk about this shit. I mean, they changed the director and they fired a bunch of people and shifted some of their direction. I mean, it's time to pay attention if they do that shit, in my opinion. So if we sent links from the site to other sites, such as a PBN, those sites climbed to the front page on highly competitive words. If you sent what the links are,
I think
like
she's maybe
CNN,
talking about
Fox
like her outbound.
maybe it ties into the CNN, Fox News, yada 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 stuff. So I don't really understand the context of that statement. I'm sorry. If you have it, drop it in there, and I'll stick around for a second.
Yeah, well, like one of the things that might have something to do with, right, just for potential edification of the question. Like one of the things I might do on a network site, call it a PBN, is look at ranking for very broad general topics, right? And it ranks great, gets tons of traffic, but there's no buyer intent there. I'm really hoping for a click through, but I got a good link coming from something in the vertical, right? And so yeah, getting PBN sites or network sites or whatever it might be, getting traffic to those pages is a good thing, right? If you can do it in a way that makes sense financially for your business model. So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it and how I approach the kind of whole thing with the network that we're working with. That's what we're doing, right? We're optimizing the network for the really broad general market level kind of searches to help them get traffic and stay lively and stay influential and likely attract even more links moving forward so they don't degrade over time. And it just all fits within this kind of concept of building content that is in line with like intent and relevance for information. Like why does this page exist? If there's a good reason for the page to exist, it's going to get more and more attention if it's put together well. So anyway, spat it off a
Yeah,
little bit.
it's a trip, man. It's a really cool time to be in SEO. It's been a lot of fun lately, man. I finally like it again. I'm through my like year cycle of hating everything about what I do. So I think that this was the one I was looking at. If you're a local HVAC though and only service Phoenix, why write blogs for national? Here's the deal: is there a difference or isn't there in that market? Like really, if we look at it, I'm gonna let Fletch go back to solar and local service, or I'm gonna let Fletch. What was it? Finance and local services. What was it?
Yeah. So we hit on this stuff pretty well with coming in from the money angle.
Yeah.
And I'm in Phoenix.
This is
Jordan
the
knows
profile.
that,
This
right?
is the funnel, man.
Yeah. And so one of the things we did, like, so it might seem national, but national, like where does somebody live if they're doing a national search? They're still in a place, right? They still live in a location. The right HVAC in Phoenix might not be the right HVAC in Connecticut. And so all of these things kind of, they're gonna be things to consider when you're putting your content strategy and your constellation together. In Phoenix, we've got tons of sun. It's mostly clear skies. Solar's a big thing. Cooling degree days, which are like a term that's used in HVAC versus heating degree days, which are more like, furnaces and stuff. Like knowing the market, like you get to open all these things up when you get into it more and more. It's not like you're going to get some of this stuff that comes out of the keyword research tools you use and that kind of thing. So like even when I'm doing something that has no location modifier at all, like what's the best brand of air conditioner, right? That might be the whole term. Well, there may be a different answer in Phoenix than there is in Connecticut, right? Just because it's a different thing. And so when I'm putting that together for a client that only operates out of Phoenix, I'm going to look at what makes sense in Phoenix, right? The types of construction we got, if we've got rooftop stuff versus a mini split or a split system where you've got like these are things I kind of know because I worked in the industry, but like they make a big difference. And so it's one of the reasons why, like, there are less search results now than there used to be that ranked literally everywhere, right? They rank differently now per location because there are differences in an HVAC system in Connecticut versus Phoenix. Google's able to parse those out, not just by location, but even like if you're doing all your searches like from a house, Google's got Google Maps and Google Earth and all, like they know your house even. Like your result may be very personalized to where you live, like the location you live, but even potentially your house. Like that's something that can be done, right? I'm not saying they do, but like really kind of getting back to like when you look at stuff with no location modifiers, like what you would think of as a national search, I wouldn't look at it that way.
Right. I agree.
If you're a manufacturer, if you're doing stuff like big level for like, you know, Plebe, which is a plumbing company, or Kohler or whoever it might be, I would still regionalize it and say, you know, hey, here's what makes a lot of sense in the Southwest, Northwest, Northeast, Midwest, Southeast, whatever it might be, right? If you're in the US, because things are going to make more sense. And because they're more location specific, you can take advantage of different constellations and different funnels that come in that make more sense for those locations.
Well, look at these pest control, these pest control companies that write things like how to identify a spider bite. That's a national search term. Local pest control companies are putting this stuff out, but they're ranking on, let's say, the entire Western United States where we have brown recluses. How to identify a brown recluse bite. You're not going to get that result if you're in Connecticut because brown recluses
or scorpions, right?
Exactly,
it's
like
thing. It doesn't.
I'm not
so
exactly.
I'm
not
like that on that site doesn't make that much sense.
Exactly, yeah. So I'm not going to get that here because I live in California. I'm not going to. I know there's probably scorpions somewhere, but So I think that is taking advantage of personalization. The best way that you can is like get those national things out there. If I'm reading something that says how to identify a spider bite if you live in Salt Lake City, Utah, I'm going to scroll right over that. But if you take off the geo modifier, I'm going to be like, oh, let me click on this right here, and I'm going to start scrolling and look at the pictures. So 100%, I think that falls right into taking the best advantage of personalization, because now you're giving Google this piece of content where they can say, all right, Google, you can use this content for anybody around the country or the world that this is relevant for, even though they, to them, are doing a local search because that's where they live is like locally.
Yeah.
International setting.
I could keep going on and on, but I need to steal time from Corey today to go over some crap. But I think a takeaway today is that if really look at how you're doing your SEO, actually, maybe we should finish the questions. I keep trying to find something, and I'm just having a bitch of a time with Brave browser, dude. So I'm getting distracted, man.
Switch over to Incog, Mike. Do it.
The NFG digital is actually the same as the live attendance because we are taking the digital after the event and continuing the workshop type stuff that we're doing at the event. So there's no difference there. And the recordings are going over to everybody. We hired someone that does ESPN shit to come on out and record it, so it's actually quality and not me with a freaking phone in the back and everything. Let's see. I think I was going to on that question. I was going to show them
2 weeks. So we'll see you guys. TikTok.
Multi-intent, like I don't know. You guys see those SERPs with like multiple featured snippets in them? I don't forget what they call them and shit. You know what I mean? That's when the intent gets broader. That's when they don't understand and lock down the profile quite as much, as where I start to see those a lot more. And so if we're thinking about the profile and we're talking about HVAC, we're talking about other industries that might be relevant, it's really important to think about how that funnel and that association works. And we're going to go into how to look at it directly, like when we're out there. But when you're evaluating your competitors' backlinks, I would suggest you be looking at more than just a backlink tool. Be looking at clickstream data, be looking at different things, and understand demographics when you're doing that to do it to the best of your ability. Because there might be,
like almost when you're seeing something like that, what it indicates is that there are multiple places that can be relevant, really, for you to get links and things like that. So that just means the market's bigger than you might have anticipated, as you started.
It also means we have a lot more opportunity.
Yep.
So thank you everyone for the time. Sorry we ran late today. It's a topic that's like seriously, like I'm just passionate about. So I know Fletch and Corey are too. But thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it.
Cool, guys.
You guys in Greensboro.